Hello everyone, Robert Rambles here, and today we're going to talk about the Sword and Shield weapon class in New World. If you're deciding what weapon to go with in New World, or you just want an idea of the possibilities, stick around and we're going to talk about the gameplay, skills, abilities, and attributes for the Sword and Shield. The Sword and Shield is for anyone who wants to tank group content in New World because it's the only weapon class that you can use for tanking. The Sword and Shield could also be a good primary or secondary weapon if you're a solo player who just wants some more survivability in challenging encounters. The Sword and Shield is going to deal slash damage to enemies, and its attack power scales with strength as its primary stat, and dexterity as the secondary stat. If you're planning to tank, you'll also want to focus on constitution for your overall health pool. Let's take a look at your basic light attack combo and heavy attack with the Sword and Shield. The heavy attack is a bit of a lunge so that you can close small distances between you and the enemy. The slashes from the light attack combo are capable of hitting multiple enemies, but only if they're really tightly grouped. Blocking with your shield will stop all basic attack damage, but it does cost stamina, so keep an eye on that yellow bar. Of course, you're not going to be spending all of your time spamming basic attacks, just a lot of it. So let's look at the skill trees for the Sword and Shield, and talk about active abilities. Like every weapon class in New World, Sword and Shield has two separate skill trees, each with 3 active abilities, and a bevy of support abilities that alter the active abilities or give passive bonuses to our character. It is important to note here that you're never restricted to one tree or the other, you're allowed to spend points in both. The Swordmaster tree focuses on dealing damage, and as you could imagine, Defender focuses on becoming a straight-up tank. As a Swordmaster, the first ability you'll get is Whirling Blade, which looks exactly like it sounds. This does 145% weapon damage to all enemies within 2 meters, with a base cooldown of 15 seconds. I say base cooldown because many cooldown times in New World can be reduced by taking certain support abilities in the skill trees. The next ability you'll take as a Swordmaster is Reverse Stab. This single target attack deals 175% weapon damage to the target, and it has a base cooldown of 20 seconds. This is meant as a single target ability. Ironically, the last ability you'll get is Leaping Strike, which even though it's the last ability you'll get, you'll probably use this one as your opener, as it sends you flying forward 4 meters to do 125% weapon damage. Since this ability is on a 25-second cooldown, you may be able to open every second combat with it. Let's take a quick look at some Swordmaster combat when we work in all of our abilities together. Once you have all your active abilities, it's time to start looking at the minor abilities in the skill trees. Let's look at the support skills that buff our 3 active skills. Whirling Blade can be improved by taking Opportunity, which adds 10 seconds of rend, reducing the armor of any enemy's hit, and Tactical Strike, which reduces Whirling Blade's cooldown by 10% for every enemy hit. Reverse Stab can be augmented with Unstoppable Stab, which does exactly what it says, and makes the attack unstoppable, as well as Tactician, which reduces all sword cooldowns by 25% on a successful hit. Leaping Strike can be improved by taking Final Strike, which will cause the ability to deal 50% more damage to enemies that are below 30% health, kind of like in Execute phase in another game. You can also take Cowardly Punishment, which will slow an enemy for 8 seconds if you strike them in the back. To me, this one seems PvP specific. Swordmaster has 9 minor abilities that are not tied directly to any of our active skills. I'll put these up on the screen, and if you're interested in seeing all of these, please feel free to pause and take a look. I don't want to go into these in too much detail because I feel like these abilities are the most likely ones to be changed over time as part of balancing classes. And let's not forget the very bottom of the Swordmaster tree where you get access to Leadership. This grants everyone in your party a flat 10% increased damage buff for as long as you have the sword equipped. I feel like this ability is gonna make Swordmasters very much wanted in group content. Now let's flip over and take a look at the Defender tree. Your first ability here is Shield Rush, which is exactly what it sounds like. You charge forward 5 meters and knock back anyone you hit, dealing 125% weapon damage. This ability has a base cooldown of 20 seconds, so depending on your kill rate, you'll likely only be using it every other encounter while soloing. The next ability you'll take in the Defender tree is Shield Bash, which will stun all enemies in front of you for 2 seconds. This ability is special because it is what is referred to as Taunt Gem compatible. This means that with the correct gem type socketed in your weapon, Shield Bash will taunt an enemy. Taunting ensures that the enemy focuses on you and not one of your group mates. The last ability you'll take in the Defender tree is Defiant Stance. This will reduce the incoming damage by all attackers by 30% for 8 seconds. This is also Taunt Gem compatible, and it will taunt all enemies around you within 8 meters. That's a pretty big taunt. Let's take a look at all the Defender abilities working together in action. Now let's take a glance at the skills that we can take to improve our active Defender abilities. Shield Rush can be augmented with Improved Rush, which will weaken all enemies within 5 meters of a successful hit, reducing their attack power. And Intimidating Rush can be taken if you want Shield Rush to slow all enemies within 5 meters of the attack. Again, to me, this seems like something that would be really useful in PvP. Intimidating Bash makes your Shield Bash attack deal 100% more damage and cause additional threat. This is going to be a must-have for anyone trying to tank. While Concussive Bash will increase its stun duration. Final Countdown changes Final Stand so that the damage reduction is increased by 20% if you're above 50% health. And taking Restoration will cause you to gain 15% of your max health back when Final Stand ends. Again, here we'll take a look at the minor skills that aren't associated with our active abilities. If you want to check those out in detail, please feel free to go ahead and pause. Again, I expect a lot of these to change. Right now we're still in closed beta, so I'm expecting them to balance many of these minor skills. At the bottom of the Defender tree, you get access to Defensive Formation. This ability reduces damage to all allies within 2 meters by 30% whenever you're actively blocking. In New World, you'll always have 2 weapons equipped, so the question is, what weapon should you pair with your sword and shield? Personally, I'd recommend something that scales with strength as its primary stat, so that you can optimize strength and you don't have to worry about spending points in dexterity or anywhere else besides constitution. I liked the Warhammer for this. It scaled primarily with strength and it dealt impact type damage, whereas the sword deals slash damage. When I would come up against enemies that were strong against the sword, I could switch over to the Warhammer, and usually they were weak against it, and that was really cool. But you could also go with the Great Axe, which scales with strength, or the Hatchet. That scales with strength too, and one of its talent trees focuses on throwing the hatchet, so that could give you some ranged attack along with your sword and shield. In conclusion, whether you're planning to tank endgame group content, or you just like the sword and shield aesthetic the way I do, and you want a little bit more survivability while soloing, the sword and shield is a great weapon, and I've had a lot of fun with my time on it. One of the great things about New World is that I feel like it gives you a lot of opportunity to diversify your skill loadout between the 2 skill trees, and I'd love to hear from you guys on what interesting hybrids that you've come up with for the sword and shield. That's all from me for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider leaving a like, and if you want to see more New World content in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and keep your eyes open. There will be much more to come. As always, I really appreciate all the support. Do take care of yourselves out there and take care of each other, and hopefully we will see you somewhere in Aeternum sometime soon. Bye now.